Hello and welcome to a very quick, very unplanned Workout Wednesday walkthrough. I felt a little guilty as I went through Wednesday and hadn't posted a video for week 2. And I wanted to come back and just highlight what I thought was actually the more difficult piece of the challenge, and that was the date filtering and highlighting function that Anne presented us with. And now I thought I came up with a decent solution in my workbook for this, and I wanted to kind of go through it to reinforce the concepts in my own head as well as share with you how I accomplished this if you may be stuck at that spot. So call this a blog, a vlog, if you will, just to highlight some cool trickery in Tableau, or call it a Workout Wednesday walkthrough. Either way, I think this is a cool thing to know. It combines set actions, filtering, um, Boolean stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of cool ways you could accomplish this, and I think there are probably a lot more efficient ways and a lot of inefficient ways that probably will come to light through this workout. So I want to just walk through how I accomplished this task. And so I've set up a quick scenario here where you see on the left a similar looking thing to what we saw in Workout Wednesday, the last 6 months of data in kind of a dot plot format. It's not like the pink calendar that we were used to seeing, but it's the same thing, right? It's 6 months of 2018 and all of the discrete order dates within those months. And then we have our target sheet, which would be representative of our jitter plot that we saw in the workout. We want to do certain things with the dates from our control sheet when they are selected, and do different things based on the parameter. So that's the first step, right? Is having the control and source and the parameter. And the way I did this was a Boolean parameter, which I've never used before, but I think I'm going to be using this more often going forward because it just produces a little less typing in your calculated fields. And I think once you get a hang of the Boolean logic and syntax, it actually becomes a lot easier to read than your typical equals or not equals or greater to. The Boolean is simply just this or that. It's if Boolean parameter or if not Boolean parameter, and then you move on. So I like it a lot. I think I'm going to use this a little bit more. Anyway, so we have our control, target, and parameter, which are all pretty basic things to set up. Now we need to set up the whole game plan. So what we needed to do, at least in my solution, is create a set based on order date. So I'm going to go to any worksheet here, right click on my order date field, go to the create menu and create a set. I'm going to rename this something that makes more sense than set 1. And I'm just going to give it one value. I don't care which one it is. Doesn't matter right now. It's just a collection of dimension members. And we need to tell it to do something. Like parameters, they don't do anything until you make them do something. So there we go. We have a set, which is great. I'm going to go to my dashboard, go to my action menu, add an action, change set values. I'm going to say go from my control sheet to this data source, the only one we're working with, and change my order date set. So from this sheet here, the blue squares, on a click, I want to add those values to this set. I want to change the set values to be what I clicked on. And then when I uncheck those selections, the set's going to get back to the whole thing. So all the values will be added to the set. Okay. And if I want to click OK, I don't want $500 off my closing costs. We can start to look through this. So let's look at July. For fun, let's just take a few dates. So we have 12 items selected. And if we go back here to our target sheet, we can start to build out that scenario. And let's build our calculation. And we're going to do this piece by piece to just show you what's going on when this happens. So right now, we can just reference the set. So order date set. We're going to call that is a true or false thing. I can go put this on color and we'll see that come to life. So if I go back to my dashboard, I can see, yes, these ones are part of the set. If I click the July header, I will see all of July. If I click these 4 dates, I'll see those. And if I click this one, I'll just get one. So that's kind of our highlight already. So we could move on technically and do that. So we could say, go back to our calculation and reference the parameter as well. So if we said if function parameter and order date set, then 1, end. Okay, highlight or filter. We're going to build this out as we go. So now we're going to say, we knew just calling the set itself would highlight those fields for us. And now we're simply adding one layer of complexity to that. We're looking at the parameter and saying if not function parameter. If you recall, the false section of the parameter was the highlight. So we say if not, which represents false, and order date set, which represents the dates that are in the set, then 1. Okay, so we have highlight or filter in a discrete number, which is exactly what we want for this. So I can now go back here, highlight those. The color swapped around on us, so that's a little confusing, but you still see the point. I grabbed from my control, moved it over to my target, and you can see those come to life. They're highlighted. Nothing's being filtered out. That's exactly how we want it to behave. If I click, everything's going to come back into play because we haven't told the calculation what to do when the parameter is set to filter, which we can work on that. So let's go back here. I'm going to move this to my else because I just don't think it will make sense if you reference the false one first. And we don't want a space there, so we'll say if function parameter and order date set, then 1. Again, we just want a 1. No big deal, right? It's a 1. We're going to use that as a filter there, and we can move on and compound on this one a little bit more. We'll do the same thing again, and not order date set, then 2. So now we have that coloring and filtering setup that Anne wanted us to do. If the function parameter, which again represents true, I didn't say not, so if function parameter, and you're in the order date set, then 1. I'm going to use that as a filter. Else if you're not the function parameter, which indicates false or highlight in this scenario, and you're in the order date set, then 1. I'm going to use that for color. And also, if you're false and you're not in the order date set, then I'm going to use that for color as well. It's a pretty simple solution. And you can mix this around however you want, but this is the bones of it. Pretty easy calculation. One set, one calc does a whole shitload of things. So it's pretty cool. So let's hit OK. Change this over to filter. And we are on our way. What we need to do now is simply go here, and instead of selecting 1 here, I'm going to go into my custom value list and say, don't do that, 1. I'm going to add 1 and add 2. And this will pretty much just do whatever I want it to do. It's going to look for 1 and 2. When I'm on filter, it's only ever going to see 1. If I uncheck my selection, it'll get everything back because remember when we cleared the selection of our set action, all the values got added back to the set, which means all the values are true within context. If I do July 1st, I get July 1st because I said if you're a member of the set, first check, there we go, July 1st, and look at the parameter. It was on the true setting, which is filter, then it's a 1. the filter on our filter shelf looks for those ones, and it gives us the 7-1 date back. If I change this to highlight, what do we think it's going to do? So let's go back to our sheet and look at our calculation and think about what this is going to do when I switch this over to the false setting. So right now it's on if function parameter right there and order date set. We clicked on 7-1, that's all we have, and that's all we see because we told the filter to look for 1s and 2s. But when you're on the true setting, the only value it can ever be is 1. So pretty simple logic there. When I change it over to false, it's going to go to these two lines. So if you're not in the function parameter, which means false, and you're in the order date set, then 1. Great, it'll still look at 7-1 as its member. And everything else, as we know, is going to get added back to the set, or it's going to not be in the set, but it will no longer be filtered because we're including it, because the filter is looking for those 2s as well, will be a 2. And we already have that field on color, so you can imagine what will happen when I switch this over. We have 7-1 highlighted, everything else is a different color. So that's how I did it. Again, super quick video, but it's really, really, really simple once you just kind of break it down into different little parts and think about what Tableau is doing throughout the order of operations, right? We have context filters in play, we have sets, we have filters, dimension filters, all kinds of things going on. But if you have a sense for how Tableau is going to react to those buttons and clicks, it actually becomes pretty easy. So that's all I wanted to share for today. So I think this is something you can implement pretty easily at work in lots of different settings. And it's really not much overhead, not a hard solution, and it's pretty scalable. Like this would work in the same mannerism pretty much every single time, which I love to see out of Workout Wednesday. Things that scale into the workplace and can be repeatable time and time again. So hopefully you found this video helpful if you're still stuck on Workout Wednesday on the date filtering component. If you're not stuck, hopefully you watch this and you get some value out of it. And if you watch this and get nothing out of it, hey, thanks for coming. Appreciate you anyway. Have a good day. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks.